This thunder will be felt across the land.
Welcome back, and thank you again for being here. We're on the home stretch at the end of our day, and we want to talk about the resolution. You have a copy of it in your handout. If you didn't get a handout, let me know, and you can have it. I'd like you to take one with you. So you can understand the resolution. The resolution is important because we need to rethink the abortion issue. We have been used to using the contradictory ideas. We've been used to using terms that aren't right. And we need to call abortion what it is. So I'm going to have, this is the video for Oklahoma. This is the video I wanted to shoot today. I don't think we'll have time, but we want to do one of these for California, but this is the resolution. So go ahead and play that, and we'll watch that.
Whereas all human beings are created in the image of God and are thus endowed by their Creator with an inalienable right to life.
Whereas governments are instituted by God among men, being charged with the duty to secure this right and establish justice for all.
Whereas the Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of the land throughout all the states and territories of our nation.
Whereas the Constitution of the United States mandates that no state shall deprive any human being of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law, nor deny any human being within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws.
Whereas the Constitution of the United States in no way, shape, or form gives the Supreme Court the right to pervert the meaning of the Constitution and impose that perversion on the other branches or states with the legal force of the Constitution itself.
Whereas the policy of following judicial precedent is merely a judicial policy and not a rule of law mandated by the Constitution.
Whereas our state legislators, judges, and executive officers have sworn a solemn oath to support, obey, and defend the United States Constitution.
Whereas murder deprives an innocent human being of life.
Whereas abortion is murder, the murder of the weakest and most innocent human beings within our midst.
Whereas any government that allows murder to go unpunished has abandoned its most basic moral duties and obligations.
Therefore, we, the people of the state of Oklahoma, are resolved that by allowing the murder of innocent children to go unpunished, the government of the state of Oklahoma has abandoned its most basic moral duties and obligations.
That by falsely claiming that the right to murder one's child is a right mandated by the Constitution of the United States, the Supreme Court has perverted the meaning of the Constitution.
That our state legislators, judges, and executive officers are bound by neither law nor moral duty to accept or enforce this perversion of the Constitution.
That our state legislators, judges, and executive officers are bound by solemn oath and moral duty to oppose this perversion of the Constitution in our state.
That our state legislators, judges, and executive officers are bound by solemn oath and moral duty to provide the equal protection of the laws to all human beings in our state.
Being so resolved, we hereby respectfully demand that our state government stop protecting the murder of children by abortion within its jurisdiction and establish justice for all preborn human beings within our state.
We demand that our legislators stop passing laws to regulate abortion and instead outlaw all abortion as murder.
We demand that our judges fulfill their oaths of office and stop rubber stamping the Supreme Court's perversion of the U.S. Constitution in Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood v. Casey.
We demand that these changes be made now. not 5, 10, or 15 years down the road.
In short, we the people of the state of Oklahoma demand the total and immediate abolition of human abortion as the legal, constitutional, and moral duty of our elected and appointed officials.
So we have adopted the language of that for our state, and that is the language of our resolution. Touch a little bit on what happened in Oklahoma, go into a little bit more depth. Oklahoma is the most pro-life state in the nation. Their governing body has an overwhelming majority of pro-life senators. When they did this conference, which was a few months ago this year, to introduce this resolution and do the petition in Oklahoma, that was their goal, to start a petition process. They put the petition forward, they filed the paperwork for the petition, and the idea was that they had a conference, they brought all the abolitionists from around the nation to get signatures. But that didn't happen because first there had to be a hearing of whether or not they could get the signatures, and this is on official ballots. You can sign the online petition, but on official ballots, whether or not they could get the signatures, they had to go through a process of reviewing whether or not the state would allow them to seek abolition. So they did the conference anyways, and they went to churches and other places to get the petition signed and to move forward with this. Well, in that process, they met a senator. My wife talked about Senator Joseph Silk. Joseph Silk is a Christian, and he is a new senator in Oklahoma, and he said, I already have a bill, let's sit down and talk about it. And he took his bill, and he repented of the pro-life exceptions in it, took them out, put the abolitionist language in, and put that bill before an overwhelming pro-life legislative body. And the National Right to Life and the pro-life legislators said, we do not support that bill. Okay? They tabled it. They didn't talk about it. Joseph Silk is up for re-election, and he has promised to bring that bill forward again. Abortion could have been abolished easily in Oklahoma. What would happen then is the Supreme Court's going to say, or they're going to have to take that up with the Supreme Court. There's going to be a battle, which is what we need to do. You're not going to do anything unless you have a fight, right? We have to move the Supreme Court. You have to challenge the Supreme Court. So it could have overwhelmingly been passed easily. But the National Right to Life said, no, we won't support it. And the senators said, no, we won't support it. Okay, so the pro-life industry in Oklahoma, the most pro-life state in the nation that all say they're against abortion, said, no, we will not abolish abortion now. Okay? The reason I say that is, the other reason I say is, you see in the video there's more people than we have, right? There's more people working at this, more people doing the work. And what we're doing, what this conference is about, is to raise an army. We have enough people in California. We have enough people that are already abolitionists, whether they know it or not in California, to do something and to stand against this evil of our time. They're in churches. They may be in your fellowships, in your Bible studies. They're already there. But there's a movement that has been leading the way that isn't asking them to do anything. We have problems in our churches with pornography. We have problems in our churches with infidelity. We have lots of issues. This goes from the pastors down to the lay people. And nobody's asking us to stand up against this great evil. And I believe there's certain connection. We as men are meant to battle. We are meant to stand up for justice. We are meant to do right. And we're not. There's a battle to be fought. There's a war to be waged. The hands and body of Christ are needed on the front lines now. And we refuse to go, or people are saying we don't need you. So we're coming up with the petition. And there's apathy even in that. Of like, well, abortion is one of many evils. Abortion really isn't the main issue. I don't think that when you stop the right of life, the right to begin life, I don't know what other issue is more important. And there isn't another issue that is worse than this in stakes of numbers, of people being murdered, of, there's 60 million murdered, there's 120 murderers in our nation. There's 2 parents for every child. It is destroying our nation, and it is evil, and it is contrary to the gospel of Christ. So we're raising an army, and you're a part of that. We're going to try to do this in California and go around, and we're trying to wake people up and raise them up to this job, to do work, to do something where you can have an actual impact. And I believe the Christians are already there. And so my hope is to wake them up. My hope is to fish for them, to call them out, to call out to the lost sheep, that they would come and see the people that are holding up a torch in the darkness that we live in and saying, we're going to stand with God whatever the cost. So that's what this petition is about. I go out to the high schools to reach the high school students. We go to Planned Parenthood to reach to the people that are boarding their children. We go out into the public square to reach people, and that's one part of it. The other part is to look for the lost sheep who are lost, who are starving, who are looking to be fed in our society. Okay, so our petition in California, we want to do a petition in California. And there are steps that can be taken in California to do this. Okay? The first step is to come up with language. The resolution is not legal language to put on the petition, in my understanding. We have to have legal language. The language has to be right because it costs $2,000 to submit it to the state, and then the state looks at it, and if the language is wrong, there's your $2,000 and your petition, you're back at square one. So we have to come up with language. It's probably going to take hiring a lawyer, looking into the language, how we can write it, how we can word it to get what we want in our bill that will be accepted by our state. Okay, so let's say we get the language right. We pay $2,000 to submit this language. This language is going to be reviewed. And more than likely, they're going to do like they did in Oklahoma. The Oklahoma petition was tossed out. They ruled on precedent, which means rather than looking at the Constitution itself, they looked at the cases before the Constitution and said, based on precedent, based on the cases, we're saying that this bill is not constitutional. What we're appealing to our government to do is to look at the Constitution itself. That's what we want to do. We're obviously not the most pro-life state, right? We are number 1 in abortion in our nation. The only thing I would add to this morning's talk is after Colorado legalized abortion, Ronald Reagan signed the Therapeutic Abortion Act in California when he was governor, and abortions in California went from 5,000 to 100,000 in that year. So Ronald Reagan, which is a big pro-life guy, really began the abortion holocaust in earnest as far as legalizing abortion. And as California goes, the nation goes that way. I've heard that saying, and that's what happened. I think that California primed the country for Roe versus Wade. That's my opinion from what I've read. And so I believe that we live in the number 1 state. We kill more babies than any other state. I believe that though we didn't legalize it first, we led the way in doing it. If you go on AAA Ranch, you've ever seen, is it AAA? No, Rolling A Ranch in Templeton. Huge ranch, beautiful horses, owned by Ed Allred. Ed Allred is the Ray Kroc of the abortion industry. He did what Ray Kroc did for McDonald's, Ed Allred did for the abortion industry, making abortions like that. The racist person, happy that he kills Mexicans, wants to he's happy about it. He's boasted about it. He owns a racetrack. I think it's Alameda or one of those. Very rich man. And he thanks God that he had the money to buy the racetrack. You know where he got the money to buy the racetrack? From murdering children. And I always wonder, what does rolling A ranch mean? Is it rolling Allred or is it rolling abortion ranch? I don't know. When you pass it next time on Templeton Road in our sweet town and you see the horses, remember that is paid for by blood money. And it's not far away. It's right here in our town. There's 4 or 5 late-term abortionists in the nation. One of them lives in Paso Robles, and she flies to New Mexico to do her abortions, to kill children in the late term. We're not living far from abortion. It's in our community. It's all around us if our eyes are open. Anyways, that was probably a tangent. So once we get, if we pass this process of review, then, oh boy, we have to get 300,000 signatures, and as my wife said, we have to get them correctly. I think it's probably impossible to get a petition through our state unless you're a union, or unless you, I don't know, for some reason you're going to vote on, you're going to vote on the porn industry in this election, which means they got a petition through, and we're going to all vote on it as taxpayers. So we have to do better than them, and I think it's going to be difficult to do that. But the hope I have is that actually we have a network of believers all across the state, probably thousands of churches all across the state that can become a garrison for this work. A garrison is where you store troops. Troops are stored here so that when you need them, you call them and they can go to work. Say, hey, would you please not sign the petition? Christians should sign the petition, right? How about, will you collect signatures? Will you be a part of this effort? So we have to print the ballots. We have to train people how to do the work, how to collect signatures. One mistake on a form throws the whole thing out. So you get 14 signatures per form. You probably have to print millions of forms, which are probably very expensive to print because they're nice paper and then they're like 4 or 5 sided. So that's the work that has to be done. We'll have to make training videos on how do you fill out this form so we can inform people quickly. This is how you do it. And then you get a deadline. You have a timeline. You can't, it's not like, I don't think our timeline is, Idaho has 19 months to get their signatures. And I don't know exactly how long it is, but it's not that long. And we have to get 300,000 signatures and they have to be verified in a fairly short, it might be 3 months or something like that. It's not a big window of time that we have to do it. So in all of that, there's tons of work. If we took every little part of that, there's tons of work to be done. Certainly more, well, I don't know, more than I can do, I don't know. But certainly more than one person can do, I believe. But it's something that we can do and we can move forward with it. I believe that we need to, or I believe one of the steps we can take, and these are my ideas, and you're welcome to share yours in a minute. I believe one of the steps we can take is forming a political action committee. The political action committee is a group that sponsors political action. And so you form a body of people that you get sort of a place at the table. It's a lobby group. That's what you do. And you can take money in. You've heard of a super PAC or things like that. Basically a political action committee. Whereas you might be able to donate to, let's say, who's the guy running for office? Fareed. Let's pick him. Let's say Fareed is running for office. You can donate $40 to him or something. Political Action Committee can donate $5,000 to him or something like that. And so we can go to someone like Fareed and say, Fareed, look, we have all these signatures on our website petition. And all of these people in California would like to abolish abortion. They're going to support you. We're going to support you, and we're willing to give you money if you'll take this as your platform. You'll put this on your platform and have him consider abolition as a platform and us supporting his case. Now, I'm kind of mixing two things here, I realize. The petition is one route. Finding a person that's already a senator or someone in our state to take the platform of abolition and say, I'm going to put that forward, like Joseph Silk did. I'm going to put it forward, and I'm going to do it now because I have that ability. So that would of course, eliminate the petition process. So these are practical things that we can do. We can move forward in. And I do think we need more people. But I also think the people are there. If we're willing to open our mouth, if we're willing to talk, if we're willing to go out and do this work, that the people are already there. I think the money's already there. I think the printer's already there. I think God already has all this stuff there for us, for us printing petitions. And I believe it's a matter of, are we faithful and willing to go and put this forward and take the route? Are we willing to say we're going to trust in providence and we're going to take this road that is seemingly impossible? And what if we fail? One of the things at the parade, we were told at one point at the parade that we weren't going to be allowed to go in. Sounded like a failure. But it wasn't a failure. Somebody was standing up for what was right at the parade, and we exposed what people were doing to hold back righteousness. And when we put a petition forward, when we put together what happened in Oklahoma, you moved the country, you moved people. You all of a sudden start a different conversation. Rather than talking about, I don't know, I don't want to be derogatory. Rather than talking about things like, you know what a euphemism is? Like, I guess it's making a light of something that's more serious, using a lighter word. We change the conversation, let people, like calling it murder. People gasp, oh, never call it murder. People say that. For life, you never call it murder. Okay, well, we're going to call it murder. And we're going to justify why we call it murder. And I lost track of where I'm at. So, anyone remember where I was at? Where was I going? That's terrible, sorry. So, we want to look at this. We want to raise this army to do this work. And the petition route is a valid route we can go down. Even if we fail, even if we spend our $2,000 and they say no, we will not have failed. We will have done something. We will have done what is right. And we will have learned and moved forward. You get a senator in there and he will put forward the bill and loses. We still have succeeded in moving society. Maybe it's a little part at this time. But I'll tell you this, and though I'm going to talk like maybe a little bit in like a military terms, we're 100% peaceful. We believe in peaceful means to bring about the abolition of abortion. But if you think about this as a battle where you have Oklahoma as in the center of our nation, and they're bringing up a pretty serious battlefront there, where it's possible there. It's very possible there. I think the pro-life movement is embarrassed because they've been exposed there. So we let the world know that these pro-life senators did not vote on abolition, that the National Right to Life said no to abolition, actually wrote a letter, said we will not support abolition. I think they've been exposed, and people are starting to open up their eyes. So there's a major battlefront there, and it's very possible that in Oklahoma this next year, there's a challenge to Roe versus Wade. And it's very possible in Texas. We don't know what will happen with a legislative priority in Texas, but it's very possible that in Texas, there will be a challenge to the Supreme Court this year. And you think of battle strategies. Here you got two battlefronts going on that are major battlefronts that someone like Planned Parenthood has to fight. The abortion lobby has to fight. Where are they not going to expect people to be standing up? We're in their den, right? We're in the snake pit. This is like they got California in the pocket. And so even if all we do is stand up and cause the battlefront to be increased, I think we call it a flanking battle, is that right? We come on the flank and we say, hey, we're here too, you've got to deal with us. And Florida stands up and says, hey, we're here too, you've got to deal with us. In Ohio, there's a funny, it's just hilarious. The news title, the headline on the news was, 3 Christians are bringing forth a bill of abolition. 3. And my thought was, there must not be any churches in Ohio. Because there's only 3 Christians seeking abolition. That's embarrassing. So, in the battlefront, you have Ohio standing up, you have Florida standing up, you have Texas, you have Oklahoma, and maybe we're not in the place of victory, but we still have to hold the line. We still need to stand up, and I believe standing up in California will be the scariest thing that the abortion industry sees. I think they expect it from Oklahoma, they expect it in Texas, but they don't have a fight here, and they should, because I believe there's people that belong to Jesus in California. They haven't left yet. Consider not leaving, would you? Because we want to fight. Okay. All right. Now, those are the things that we want to work towards. We need to, all of those things are jobs that need to be done. Videos, research, lawyers, etc., etc. Those are all jobs that need to be done. I don't know how it's going to get done, but I'm going to seek with whatever God gives me to get that done and move forward in that. And I'm asking your help. Tell people, think about it, to move something. And who knows who it's going to be. But there are things we can do today. Did anyone use the bathroom today?
Just crawled into the stall to help my son.
Just crawled under the stall. That is love. That is love right there. Okay. Did you notice anything in the bathroom? Did you see drop cards and quad folds? You did?
You did a good job in the men's bathroom.
How do you think it feels to find, for a Christian that's against abortion, to find one of those drop cards or quad folds in the bathroom? Let's say this was in and out. How would it feel? To find, you're a Christian, you're against abortion, you find one of these drop cards, how do you feel? First time I saw a drop card that I didn't drop, I was amazed. I nearly took a picture. We were in where were we? Portland, at a conference, and I saw a drop card and I said, honey, we didn't drop that. That wasn't from us. That's somebody else that dropped that. It was exciting to find a drop card. As a Christian that's against abortion, that's fighting abortion, it was exciting to find that. Now what if you're against abortion and you find it? What is it? Maybe angering, a little frightening. Why is it angering? Abortion's okay. Why would it make anyone mad to find a drop card? Because they have a conscience, and inside God put the law of God. And when they see this witness on the outside that says what they've done or what they believe is wrong, the witness on the inside says, that's right, you're wrong. And they hate that. And they rip it up and they throw it away. But there's a seed planted. I love when I see people rip things up and throw them away, because it means that their emotions were opened up. And I pray that God put whatever seed he could in there at that time. That seed will bloom and bring them to repentance. Last week there was a post on Facebook. It had a picture of a black woman and a child. She was at a gas station. When we do our credit card, after the credit card, we put a drop card in. And we leave. She found a drop card. And the baby on the drop card, the graphic image on the drop card, was the age of the baby in her womb that she was considering murdering. And she looked around at the other gas station pumps, and she didn't see other drop cards, and she said, this must be a sign from God. And she didn't kill her baby, and that's the picture. So you have a piece of paper that is really seems worthless. You got 3,000 children being murdered today, or every day, and a 10-cent piece of paper saves a life. I like to see drop cards in bathrooms. I love it. It encourages me greatly. And I think there's people that don't know about abortion. And we can't talk to everybody. But we can leave literature in the bathroom stall, someplace, something for them to read. Be thankful. Think about it. Share the gospel with them. We can drop literature everywhere we go. We can do it in the doctor's office, gas station. My girls know all about that. They're professionals. Go through the grocery store. You know, like, have you ever geocached? It's kind of like geocaching. You don't want the muggles to find out. So you just put it under something real quick and move on. Those are people that aren't playing the game. So, anyways, it's not unfun. It's fun.
Drive through window.
Huh?
Drive through window.
Drive through window. Yeah, wherever. I mean, it's interesting to do. It's fun to do, and There's a powerful message that's having, and everybody can do it, and we can do it all the time. Part of abolition is not saying, I'm going to be a part of this once a year. It's making it our life. We're thinking about it. We're trying to invent new strategies. We're trying to get the message out there. And we're not only trying to change the culture, we're looking for the lost sheep. Hopefully they'll find it, they'll go to the website and they'll say, hey, I'm not alone. There are others like me. Okay. So, I think I'm there. What we're going to be doing as a society here, we're going to be doing Project Frontlines, going to the high schools, usually on Thursdays, and we're going to try to go, I think, once a month to Morro Bay, then 3 times a month, but Morro Bay, Templeton, Tascadero, Morro Bay, Templeton, Tascadero, and just keep going like that, something like that. You're welcome to join us if you'd like. Maybe going to churches. I think tomorrow we might go and hand stuff out at a church. We're not going to have any signs. We're just going to hand out information at a church in Tascadero. You're welcome to join us if you want. And then we're going to be working on doing conferences like this. Deborah's going to try to work on one for middle of January. And Deborah's going to talk to people there, and us who have thought about it longer, who have heard it now. We want to go to Bakersfield, so that at Bakersfield there's not 30 people. There's maybe 30 people there, and then 30 people from here. And so we can have fellowship. We can say, you're not alone. And it's so hard, because I'm one kind of person, and I say things one kind of way, and some people just don't get it from me. But another person that talks differently, that says things that I wouldn't say in a way I wouldn't say them, they hear it. They hear the message. It's just the way God made us. We just have different minds, and we take the message differently from different people. That's part of being the body of Christ. That's part of being what God has done. And so, more than anything, I want to hear other people. So when we go to Bakersfield, prayerfully in the middle of July, or middle of January, we'll go and we'll communicate in a different way than the people here. Deborah's in there, and she's talking, and people are hearing from her. She communicates one way, and she doesn't have a whole lot of support. So we'll go there, and we'll talk a different way, saying the same message, and prayerfully people will say, I get it now. I want to serve the Lord. I want to follow. I want to do this. I want to raise up this army. After that, we want to go maybe to Stockton or maybe to Ventura. I don't know, Ventura. But maybe you have a place. I want to go to San Jose. I want to go to Lockwood. I want to go places and do this message and keep talking about it and start growing the movement. It's a movement, not an organization. It's just believers following Christ.